This just in. Cowboys are not firing their coach. Mike McCarthy will stay as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Take that, Belichick. Mike McCarthy will coach the Cowboys next year.
Maybe it's because Belichick made it be known that he didn't want to go work for Jera and his son Steven. And so they immediately decide, well, if we can't have Bill, we might as well stick with Mike. Why don't you come out immediately and debunk that? Why does it have to wait until Wednesday for that news to come out that you're going to keep your head coach?
Well, they probably
that to me is not much of a vote of confidence.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
I mean, what's to talk about? You saw what you saw.
Apparently there was a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I think that if you're that upset by it, then you make the move. And you make the move if you are going to be able to get a guy that you really, really want, which is Belichick.
Maybe
and
they don't want him.
And you can't get Belichick. So then you decide a couple days later, well, we're not firing Mike McCarthy.
Well, like I told you a couple of days ago, I think that the Dallas-Belichick marriage always had a very large bugaboo stuck into the whole thing, which is who's got the power. You had two sides there. Neither one of them are going to relinquish the power, and so it's not going to happen. Belichick to Atlanta sounds like a real possibility, to be honest with you. And Harbaugh to the Chargers, those are the two things that if I had to bet on them, I would bet on those right now. The Dallas thing, that's the question from the beginning. But I didn't have this on my likely bingo card. I didn't think they'd keep him. But, yeah, I get it. Look, you let the emotion die down. You talk about it. You see where your players are at. Your quarterback came out and said, if you're mad at him and you think he should go, then I should go too. So McCarthy stays. I'm surprised.
I am too.
Yeah.
I'm surprised, but not shocked, because if you're going to make that move, you would have made it, I think, out of emotion, and you would have done it right away. And I do think that, if they were going to try to make a run for Bill and they found out that he's not going to be available or he doesn't want to come there, then maybe you make that be known here on a Wednesday, darn near 5 o'clock. But it's probably the right move, I think. I don't know if bringing in a new head coach is the answer. You tried to bring in a new offensive coordinator, and it seemed to work up until January, but something's wrong with the roster or the coaching staff or ownership or all of the above in Dallas, because you sure looked like one of the most talented teams in football most of the way through the year.
Yep.
And then you got absolutely rolled at home by Green Bay.
Buzz I'm hearing out there, out and about, also suggests that Nick Sirianni is very likely to be safe in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So these two high-profile, like, oh my gosh, we got to freak out because we lost in the playoffs. I think they're both going to stay. The Sirianni one, that made sense from the beginning, quite frankly, unless you're a caller to sports radio in Philadelphia where rational goes to die.
What are you supposed to do if you're Nick Sirianni other than win the Super Bowl? He goes 34-17 in 3 years in the regular season, makes the playoffs all 3 years, and not a lot of coaches can say that they are 3 for 3 in making the playoffs. You made it to a Super Bowl, and you lost a good, hard-fought ball game. I don't know if you can say that Sirianni gagged it away. You had a defensive player make a mistake, commit a penalty. Yeah. Yep. I mean, you were right there against the Chiefs, and you could have won it. And this year, it was a collapse. But, you put that all on Sirianni?
No, but I mean, look, this is the way it goes. It was a total collapse, and it's trending in the wrong direction. They've got a lot of transition now. So I think that the feeling amongst Philly fans is we might have missed our window. And that's what shows you the door sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, let's pick up what Tashawn Gibson said on the Richard Sherman podcast. We played it for you about 7 or 8 minutes ago. If you weren't with us, this is what Gibson said about Kyle Shanahan.
Kyle's probably my favorite coach I played with, and I'm not just saying that because I'm here, but, man, just the way that he take care of the players, that open door policy, man, like he's a straight shooter. And you gotta respect that. You've been around long enough, man. Some guys that'll tell you one thing, and it's just like it's always somebody else's. Like, hey, well, it's not my decision, but this Kyle is a straight shooter. What he say, he mean. John been nothing but a straight shooter to me, man. And the older you get, the more you can respect that. I can respect that, man. Like, yeah, man, tell me what it is. And besides that, it's just like he take care of his players, and that's why you see so many guys that got nothing but love and respect for Coach Kyle, man. Is everything perfect? No, Coach is. Everybody going to have some complaints. You've been in a locker room before. Complaints is always heard in every locker room, man. But I tell you what, man, it's a locker room full of guys, man, that'll run through a brick wall for Kyle, man. He's just that type of guy, man. He command that type of respect, and, man, the guys rally behind him, man, and I'm proud to be a part of this for sure.
You know, I mean, we had these conversations at the beginning of the year, and there are plenty of 49er fans like, I can feel this. You can feel this. You all can feel this. And this is part of what I was getting at off the top of the show with why I think that this is not the most comfortable place to be. The comfortable part of the Niners situation is they're the best team, and they've got everyone coming to their building. So that's comfortable. The uncomfortable part is it's way more fun when sports can just be light and fun. And if you win, you celebrate, and if you lose, it's like, shoot, good
Get
try.
Next year, yeah.
But nobody's feeling that way right now. This is a you better win. You better do it. And you know damn well who it's coming down on if they don't. You know damn well who it's coming down on if they don't.
Depends on how it goes, but most likely it comes down on Kyle.
I don't really think it is. It does depend. I think all roads lead to Kyle. Because even if, let's say, Brock Purdy goes out in the playoffs and does what he did Christmas night, where do you think that lands? On Brock?
Sure.
You think everybody's going to go, oh, your career, which has spanned 20 games, is now over?
Well, it's going to be Brock is the fraud that we thought he was.
And?
That's it. I don't. Depends. If he throws 4 interceptions like he did on Christmas, was that Kyle's fault that those passes were tipped and picked?
Yes, because he
I don't
picked
think
him.
so.
He picked him.
Well,
he picked him.
That ship has sailed.
I don't think it has.
Because he was Mr. Irrelevant.
No, but we're going to go.
He picked him, but he didn't. It's not like you picked him first overall.
No, but I don't mean he picked him in the draft. I mean he picked him in the whole Trey Lance saga that took place over the last 2 years.
And led you to the number 1 seed and a bye. I don't think that in that scenario, Kyle gets the same amount of blame that you think.
Well, I really do.
If it comes down to a tight game and there's a couple of play calls that are controversial, then yeah. Or clock management, then heck yeah, Kyle gets the blame.
But the perception has been that Kyle Shanahan is a really good play caller and coach and has had a wonderful window here with the 49ers that's never quite gotten over the top because you couldn't quite figure out the QB spot. And now we've arrived at this time where it's like, oh, okay, he's finally got his QB. And if he goes out there in the playoffs and lays a complete egg, well, now I completely think there's a very large faction of the fan base that's going to throw its hands up and go, you still haven't found that dude. Despite the fact that he'll finish second or third in the MVP race. I'm not telling you I think that.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that Kyle Shanahan is the one that has had multiple shots at this and doesn't have the ring. And this feels, can we all agree, this feels like his best shot.
Absolutely. But
Okay.
I don't think that the criticism, if it comes down, will be on him picking Brock. I think the criticism comes down on him, and the label of can't win the big one is what sticks with him more than it being, well, you should have stayed with Trey or you should have kept Jimmy. Brock, it was a mistake to have Brock be your QB. I think the majority of the fans, if it goes down the way we're saying, with a loss short of winning the Lombardi, I think if it comes down in a regular way, it's Kyle just can't win the big one. And you can talk about the blown lead in Atlanta when he was a coordinator, 28-3. People still hang that around his neck. Even though he was an offensive coordinator, they blame him for not being able to close the door. Even though you and I have had this conversation, that game went sideways a number of different ways. Most notably, the fact that their defense couldn't stop New England, and Matt Ryan had a fumble inside his own 30-yard line that gave New England an easy score. There were crazy plays all over the board, but people still blame Kyle for that, even though he was a coordinator.
But let me ask you the definition of the big one. What does that mean?
The big one is the Super Bowl.
Okay, well, then he's only had 2 tries.
Right.
So if he doesn't even get to this one.
That's even worse.
Well,
because this team
But you can't say then he doesn't win the big one because
this is a big one.
I know, but he's won those before many times.
Right, but he hasn't won the big one
repeatedly.
But he is in a situation now where you have a home game and you're a huge favorite, and if you win, you'll have a home game and you'll be a huge favorite. Maybe not a 9.5-point favorite against Detroit, but I bet you'd be 6.5, maybe sniffing 7.
Yeah, you're probably right.
And then you go to the Super Bowl against a team that you'll probably be favored against by 3 or 3.5. So this is a thing where you got to get it done.
That's what I hate. And you're not wrong.
You got to get it done, Kyle. I mean, if something happens like it did against Philadelphia, let's take that as an example. Does any 49er fan look at the Eagle game and say, Kyle, that was your fault?
Absolutely they did.
Well, that's ridiculous.
You did.
No, I did not. I did not say it was his fault that they lost.
You have torched that play call for a year.
It's a bad play call, but it was a better defensive play.
Okay.
That play call was not why they lost. They lost because their defensive player knocked your quarterback out. That's why. It wasn't.
Those are the same thing.
Well, your tight end got beat.
Yeah.
And that's football. Exactly. That's the way it happens.
Yeah. That's not what you've said all year.
That's exactly what I've said. I didn't say it was Kyle's fault.
No, you said it was a bad play call and that he never should have left a backup tight end on Hassan Reddick.
Well, it's hindsight's 2020.
Which is a play call that is used all the time.
Right.
And had worked very effectively time to time.
With a better tight end now than they had then.
No, even with that one.
Yeah.
Like with their backup tight end. Like that's a chip block. And he whiffed. You know what I mean? Like I get what you're saying, but by the same token, it's like, yeah, we do this. We're going to spotlight one play and then use a premise to explain a result, none of which really have anything to do with each other, which is the bad play call, if you even want to call it that, or simply bad execution by a player, leads to a sack. The injury,
right,
in my opinion, is sort of parenthetical. That's like bad luck. That's bad luck. Sacks happen every single game. Brock Purdy's going to get hit this weekend. It's just a matter of it's like Mike Golick said when he was on our show a couple hours ago. It's not a matter of if you get hurt, it's when, and it's how. You know what I mean? What's the injury? Is it something you can come back from? But come on, you heard that many times all year long. Trey Lance was Kyle Shanahan's fault when he got hurt, and so was Brock Purdy. We heard it repeatedly.
Right. I think that the coach is always going to be the one who is going to get the lion's share of the blame no matter what.
Which is my point. That's my point with Kyle Shanahan.
I don't think that it's going to be because he picked Brock Purdy. There will be other reasons if it goes south.
Whatever they are, I think that if in some way this doesn't go right, that's who it's going to be hardest for is Kyle Shanahan.